Hi you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman, and thanks again for being with me for another YouTube Q&A time. This is a question and answer. You guys send in the questions and I answer it. And if you're new to this group, you're new to my channel, I always just say thanks for being here. You are welcome to go to my website, send in your own question. At the very end of the website, there's just a contact form and you can put on there a question for YouTube. And then it gets sent to my team. They put it in a folder, and then week by week, I just pull out a new question and answer them here on YouTube. If you are into the paranormal, the spiritual, this metaphysical life and journey, the ascension process, and really just wanting to dive in more and learn about your metaphysical connections, your extrasensory perception, and all sorts of multidimensional aspects of the self, please look at all that I offer in terms of my teaching curriculum. I have the new teaching platform where it's just super easy and accessible, and you can download video by video, just instructional aspects of how to strengthen your gifts, as well as worksheets and PDFs and that exclusive video curriculum that's only there through the teaching platform. It is awesome and I put my heart into it, so I hope that it blesses you all. I also want to mention my touring schedule. It is getting busy and full, and I'm super excited about all the places that I'm going to be going this year. I've already kind of started the tour, but usually like once a month, I'm traveling somewhere, whether it's Chicago or Hawaii or Houston, Tokyo, and then back in Raleigh, North Carolina. This year is going to be a fun-filled travel year. So try to find out when I'm going to be in your area. I would love to see you and connect with you. So I want to mention this is a special time because this week is Valentine week, which I love, just any excuse to celebrate love and amplify love. And I created a special in terms of my teaching curriculum online. If you are to join and purchase the masterclass curriculum, which is all of the teaching modules put into one, so it goes cumulatively through all of the information. I have a special discount this month for February of 15% off of that entire bundle of the masterclass. This can also be broken down into multiple payments, so it is an awesome time to get a good deal and feel like you're able to develop your own gifts in the multidimensional aspects of your life and have the support of a program that's been tried and true through many years of me teaching that curriculum. It's now available online, and y'all, if you're truly interested, just go to my website, themodernshaman.net, and go to the online courses. There's a special link there that you can click on for the 15% off Valentine's special, which is just my love for all of you and giving you a little boost of love. So here's the question for this week. Dear Rachel, I found your video because I was looking for spiritual guidance and how to deal with the sadness about animal cruelty. Like the person who asked you in this video, I am super glad that I found you. In 2017, I became a vegan, but the more I knew and the more I learned, my depression and sadness grew. I could not go on like that. A month ago, I quit my job because I wanted to devote myself more to helping animals. I'm volunteering for animal activist organizations and that promote plant-based living, as well as doing street activism, while I'm also trying to make myself supported by my graphic designer work. I do not feel as depressed anymore, but I do have episodes of utter sadness. I try to also have positive intentions for humans to become conscious and to feel compassion, but it does not always work. The animal suffering is so big and it sometimes feels like suppressing my emotions, and every now and then they have to come out, especially when I personally bear witness to animals at the slaughterhouse, where I look into their eyes and touch them or see these videos of suffering. It's quite traumatic. Do you think it will become easier? The more I practice transforming sadness into love, will this help? Or should I let the sad emotions come out as they occur? Thank you so much for all that you do and for your channel. Ooh. So we're gonna get into it today, all right? This is gonna be a deep one, I can already tell you. And I'm laughing, but at the same time, I'm just in a space of utter connection with you in this depth. So, all right. I'm going to answer you honestly. Of course, this is who I am. I have a very high level of integrity with what I do. And so I'm going to be transparent and honest with you. And the first thing that I want to say about this is that suffering, and this is overall with all suffering on this planet, and there's a lot of it, whether it's with the animals, whether it's with humans, children, the environment, the elderly. There is a lot of what seems to be needless suffering, poverty. We all know, right? It's part of the human experience. And I first just want to commend you on the fact that the depth at which we experience pain and suffering and grief and loss is a testimony to the depth at which your heart is willing to open itself to things even beyond the human experience, to the animal kingdom's experience, to those that are part of our larger community of life and the expression of divine source on this planet. To me, there is a beauty that I want to just make sure that you get validated for. That this is always the way it is. When there is a death or there is a tragedy or there is a suffering of some kind, the weight of which we experience that grief is a testimony to the depth and space that our heart was able to go through in terms of connection. So I will be honest about the fact that I don't know that it gets easier the less or the more time that goes by. Meaning I don't know that the pain and the acuteness of those tragedies, or like you shared, looking into an animal's eyes in the slaughterhouse or touching them or feeling these, I'm feeling it now and I'm just letting myself feel it. And I've been involved in all sorts of things, and at the beginning or at my youth, kind of in the time of activism, I think we all go through a time in our lives when we are empowered to act at such a devoting level. And that level of devotion is beautiful. It's wonderfully naive and youthful, and that is important. That's why it works. That's why we do it then. That's why there's so much power in that. There's revolution in that. There's absolute change for humanity that can be reached and is accessible in those times when we are very active, even if it's naively so, even if it's always hoping and seeing things in this incredibly optimistic perspective. That also is incredibly valid, and I know I did that as well when I was a missionary and when I devoted my time in centers for babies, that were taken away. I've done a lot of different activism things in different legal ways and just on the streets with people, or just I've done all sorts of things in any way and shape and form that my compassion spoke and my activism took feet. So I will say that I don't know that it gets easier, but you do get more effective. meaning the choices in which you spend your time, the ways in which you do not judge your own grief. You do not combat your own sorrow. You don't contract against the emotion. You get better at the practice of grief. You get better at the experience of sorrow. And by better, I just mean you get more comfortable with it. It doesn't mean you numb out. In fact, I'm the opposite of that. And I know in a lot of careers, psychology or doctors, healers, they're told to kind of categorically separate or disassociate or compartmentalize so that you can function. And for me, it's been quite the opposite. And I don't know that my path is correct for everyone. I don't have a need to push my path on anyone, but I can only speak to my experience that it feels better to me to let myself feel what I feel and to give voice to those emotions just as equally in the sadness as I do in my joy. And it's just as accessible. I mean, even when I've done work with death and dying and helped people transition, or people living on the streets or homeless or fighting addiction, or prostitutes trying to get off of the street and into traditional career. I've just done so many things that have felt really close to my heart. And all of those things, I have leaned into the emotional moment. And that feels more true to me than saying to learn to compartmentalize or to disassociate and become distant from the emotion of our human experience. There's so much wisdom in the knowing or in the awareness that from our divine perspective, from our before we became form, from the perspective we had when we were omniscient ourselves, we chose in our wisdom to take this human experience. And so there's so much validity and depth and profound accessibility to source in the experience of humanity, in the full emotional range of humanity. So don't feel like you need to neuter or neutralize your emotions. I will say though, that there is wisdom in how to handle your emotions well. And by well, I mean how to handle them in a manner that doesn't cause more suffering for yourself or for others that you might project that upon. Whether it's groups of people, organizations, or individuals. We have to be cautious. We don't have to be, but I would encourage you. This is a kinder path. The same kind path that you are wanting for the animals, to be kind to our own animal nature, to be kind to those that make choices that seem very counter or very ignorant in their decision, or very callous. It doesn't take away the action. It doesn't take away the fact that it is callous, or it is brash, or it is inhumane. But for you as an individual, my encouragement for you to how to live through this suffering, and this goes across the board, you guys. Hopefully you realize this by now, that I'm not just talking about animal cruelty, that I'm talking about all human suffering and the points at which trigger you. Whether it's pedophilia, whether it's sex trafficking, whether it's animal cruelty, whether it's the environment, whether it's senior citizen cruelty, or there are so many things that seem genocide. I mean, we live in a world that is so ripe with polarity. But we have to translate that in our own heart, in our own human experience, to where we have the ability to still feel balanced, to still feel like we're capable of living and breathing and working and feeding ourselves and making enough money to maintain a life on this planet in harmony with all that we come in contact with. And only you know what that balance is for you. For some people, that is literally like getting off grid or quitting their job and devoting their time to some. If that's relevant and you're listening to that true, genuine space in your heart that is speaking and giving you a sense of absolute peace and resolve when you're aligned with it, then only you know that, and you have to stay true to that. The ethical promises that you make to your own heart are so paramount. They're more important than promises we make to anyone else. This is what stays. I mean, the promises we make to others are important too. But your soul, like, don't counter your soul. Don't counter your own spirit. Don't fight against yourself and what you know to be true for yourself, all right? There's inner peace in there that transcends all other interaction with other humans or other organizations. Staying true to your own heart, no matter what. Coming back to it over and over and over. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say. When you ask that, I'm going to touch on your last part of that question. Should I let myself just experience the sad emotions when they occur? Yes. I mean, there is literal transmutation and chemical alchemy to our tears, right? I mean, they have proven, like, deep guttural cries, they release, oxytocin. I mean, they literally release like opioids, like in our natural opiate hormonal balance in our brain chemistry. And that relieves and calms and brings us into a more balanced state of well-being. And this is why a lot of times we sleep really good after a heavy cry. We've literally released chemicals in the body that is transmuting that energy of pain and sorrow into a relief for the body. The muscles themselves begin to loosen. And so feeling our emotions is always more beneficial for the body than suppressing them. Now, I said earlier, and I'll reiterate, that doesn't mean you need to project it onto someone else. You don't need to project your anger onto someone else. That never feels like it betters. It only feels like it amplifies the energy of anger. This is what happens when two or more are gathered. We literally are amplifiers of, like, our cells. They're like every little, I'm going to get scientific, but like every little cell is like a battery pack. There's like positive and negative aspects to it, and it has positive and negative charge to it, and like a little electromagnetic battery. So we are literally amplifying out that when we choose to project outward, when we speak, when we use vocal cords to amplify like a megaphone. Same with when we're shouting at someone, when the energy itself only magnifies. So if you want release, I wouldn't do it from a projected point of view. It only amplifies that which you're feeling. So if you're projecting outward onto someone else your anger, and we've all felt this, right? When someone shouted at us or we've seen someone shout at someone, you're like, oh my God, it's like this sound wave of echoing energy of just like trauma and fear and it's just horrifying. I'm laughing because we have control over it. We have complete control over not doing that. So just being conscientious about the ways in which you choose to not suppress your emotions. So healthier relief, tears, even tears themselves, they also have salt. So there's a literal purification through that process. It's a rebirthing process in itself. Or getting out the exertion of the body. So running, like punching on a punching bag. This is one that I do for anger when I feel anger. Because it exerts and exudes the body, and then we move through sweat, which is like tears, like tear ducts, or our body, all of the cells and the pores in our body crying out. and giving a sense of relief for them. So if you can exercise to a point that the body exerts so much so that it moves into the chemical reaction of relief, then you can move that energy in a way that gives your body relief and that also doesn't suppress that energy and that emotion within you. Suppressed emotion is that when it goes inward, and this is where we go towards shame and where we go towards a lot of masochistic stuff, where it turns inward instead of having a clearing which comes outward. This is how the body knows to clear itself. This is the way that the human form in its own just mechanism and biology knows how to keep itself in balance. We burn, the fever burns out the bacteria, so our body knows how to relieve outward. So I would encourage you to move in a way that feels healthy there, not to suppress and not to project, just to move outward in that healthy manner of relieving and releasing that energy for yourself. And then also just know that that all that you're doing matters. This is important. It matters. It matters. It matters. It matters. All the emotions that you feel in connection matter. I'm feeling the emotion of it now. It matters, it matters, it matters. And you will have to tell yourself this over and over in the human experience because it's very individualized, and yet at the same time it's not at all. It's completely unified in the one. And every animal is you. And every slaughterer is you. So, it matters. All of it matters. Stay in alignment with your heart and you will be fine. There's your peace right there. I love you all. I am signing off. I know this was a deep one, but it was a relevant one. When it comes in like this, everybody's been going through some seriously intense energies these past 3 weeks. So it is a beautiful space of the heart. In the week of Valentine, look at this opening of the heart. Someone sharing so openly from their experience of suffering, which is a space that opens the heart very deeply. I love you all. We'll be back here next week.